Hey friends and fam, it's John and this is JMART, your destination for Monday morning insight about physical and financial health. On today's episode, I sat down with Laserman to talk about his Bitcoin marketplace, Gotoshi.ca. Check that out. Unfortunately, the quality of the sound of the recording was not that great, so I ended up cutting it to only the good part. Still a worthwhile interview. Check it out, and I'll catch up with you again next week. Cheers. Hey friends and fam, it's John and this is the JMART. Thank you for joining me this week. I've got a friend that I'm going to be talking to today. The third episode, the trilogy is complete today. Welcome, Laserman, also known as SHA-256. Thanks for coming on to the JMART. Good to see you, my brother.
Great to see you too, brother. Great to be here. You know, let's rock and roll. Let's complete the trilogy. Know what I mean? I got the best cup in the world with me right here.
Excellent. So for the listeners, people watching who don't know or don't remember, Laserman, he has an online store called Gotoshi where you can buy everyday items, grocery items, and pay with Bitcoin. And we've had one episode for him to come on and talk about it. And he's just completed Q2 of having launched Gotoshi, and we just like to catch up and see how it's going. What are the new developments? I'll tell you, one of the newest developments that I enjoy the most is the fact that we now get 3% rewards back in Bitcoin, in Satoshis, like the small subunits of a Bitcoin. That I've been enjoying that. So yeah, why don't you take it away, Laserman, and tell us about Q2 and just comment on my favorite part of the new developments.
Well, honestly, you have Cliff to thank for that, my co-founder. It was really his idea to come up with that. And it's been very instrumental in bringing people online and opening their eyes as to what Bitcoin is and how it's beneficial to them and how they can allocate just very, very, I want to say just very casually without even thinking about it. They don't even blink and they just take the rewards. But it's... Our Q2 has been about 30% across the board better than our first quarter. So we've been ramping up in terms of users, recurring buyers, itemization, sales, revenue, profits, everything. It's basically all kind of out there already.
Set it up for everyone a little bit better than what I did for like what Gotoshi offers to your customers.
What Gotoshi offers is like the elevator pitch. I like to keep it eloquent and simple. It's basically a Bitcoin marketplace that's akin to Amazon, but on a smaller scale, obviously. So you send Bitcoin and you get your stuff. It's very simple. You get it shipped to you, and if you want something, you just buy it, and that's it. You get it at your door, and it's basically a parallel Amazon, but just Bitcoin only and what have you. So. That being said, if that's something you're into and you're interested in, by all means, please try it out. We always like to attract new people, new faces, and have more and more people involved with what we're doing. So
and you've got different vendors, right? But the main vendor, which is Gotoshi Direct, that's a GTA only, Greater Toronto Area only service. But you've got vendors that can supply across Canada.
Yeah, every vendor can do Canada-wide except Gotoshi Direct. I remember I was talking to somebody on another podcast the other day, and he said, you guys are the legal version of the Silk Road. And I was like, that's exactly what we are. So, it's nice to get that mantle and get that type of attention and see the correlation there. And
do you want to describe what the Silk Road is? Probably if my friends and family are listening to this, they don't even know what it is.
Silk Road was a site for illicit items, meaning drugs, fake IDs, guns, you name it. Everything under the sun that you probably shouldn't be toying with was available on the good old Silk Road. That's what it was. It was a black market. It was an online portal, black market, where you could get all these type of things for Bitcoin. I believe this was about 10, 11, 12 years ago-ish. And, it met with it came to a bad end because players got arrested, the whole thing got shut down, law enforcement got involved, all that stuff. And the moral of the story is don't do bad things, and if you're going to, get out while you're ahead.
And there's a interesting like little twist I remember in the fact that when Silk Road got taken down by the U.S. government, they were somehow able to get the Bitcoin that Silk Road was holding to maintain operations. I think the guy didn't secure it properly.
Yeah, I don't know how they got a hold of it, but it was probably not properly secured and all this shit. So, yeah.
But I think that's the reason why now the U.S. government is like a large holder of Bitcoin.
Yeah, fuck.
And I think they've been selling it too. They've been adding to the selling down pressure.
Yeah, I know. Fuck. Well, where are they now? I want me some cheap corn.
Yeah, as we're speaking, Bitcoin's up 27, nearly 28% up on the year.
Fuck yeah, and the year is like not even 2 months in.
Let's move on. Tell me more about your Q2 of Gotoshi. Tell me some successes, some success stories, and some like failures and things like just to give it a little bit of contrast.
I really wish we had more sats coming in compared to our first quarter. But what we learned was that a lot of people want to use the broken money to buy shit and also mix it in with some sats. And I was like, okay, like that's pretty interesting to see. And like, I'm glad we've kind of been like a little bit of a guinea pig for the market so that other people can like learn from us and have their own successes and all that. But so I don't mind, you know what I mean? Like, again, I've said this before, but I'll say it again because I'm under no obligation to share my core Q1 or Q2. I can just keep it all a big secret and say I'm a billionaire. But I like to, just show the truth. And as small as it is, we're in the grand scheme of things, we're a little tiny wannabe small business. That's what it is, right? But we're a niche market. We're one of the only ones doing it, if not the only ones doing it properly. And showcasing it even in small doses shows that there is a hunger and something out there, because a lot of e-commerce regular stores, they just fall flat and fail, and they can be for things that are very understood and only accept fiat and already have an established marketplace. So to see us still thriving in these first 6 months of us being out there as a 10% growth on a monthly basis, I'm like, that's pretty rad. That's cool. So to my earlier point on what you asked about some of the failures, that I wish we had more sats coming in. This is just like the middle of the journey. I want to do one more quarter before I feel as though we have like a established, consistent, good business that will always kind of be around. And successes is just the fact that we've grown. Yeah. And we learned what works and what doesn't work. So it seems like, like I learned personally is that every time I go on the wire and talk about something from the heart, like about Bitcoin, that's when I seem to strike a chord with somebody and somebody just gets involved. That's how the ornate growth has been for me. Like recently I just put out one of the first actual, micro budgets, no marketing budget, no real marketing has been done other than me running around with a goddamn cell phone. And when I did recently do a semi-professional thing recently where I put out like a quick little advert about our group and Gotoshi, I think a couple of days later I got a whole new customer for buying goods from Gotoshi Direct, and he's just using Bitcoin. And I'm like, yeah, that's interesting, you know what I mean? And this is all within the city of Toronto, and this is just literally me going and evangelizing Bitcoin in my group about how we're the kosher Bitcoin experience, you know what I mean? Why everything else is a fucking scam, and anybody else who's telling you about some crypto token or some altcoin is likely just broke, and they probably should have no business in business. They just want you to hold their bag. So if you want to be a bag holder, get into cryptocurrency. So and that's how my growth has been in that sense, and that's how we've had recurring customers and more interest. So I don't know, it's as cheesy as it sounds. You speak from the heart and you just be real about it, and be raw, uncut, and straight up. You'll get people wanting to mess with you outside of just, hey, let's grab a beer and talk Bitcoin. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
People are actionable.
I see that, and I think that is 100% a contributor to the success of Gotoshi so far. I also think it's just like a really good idea. Also, the fact that you're providing a service where you're delivering everyday goods to people's front doors, like, yeah, everybody wants that, obviously. And now you're
Yeah.
just offering Bitcoin as a payment solution. And even if not that, then you're offering Bitcoin like the best possible rewards program for a possible client. I think that's a winning idea. So
No,
it's no
thanks, bro.
surprise to me that like you're slowly, moving the needle in the
Yeah.
right direction.
Yeah, like the other day somebody bought something for $20. He spent $20 on like some a bag of coffee, and we sent him like 898 sats in rewards. And I'm like, man, sounds like chump change, right? But it's like, I mean, if you can look decades out into the future, it's 800, and when we reach one sat, one parity US dollar, that's 898 friggin',
That's
equivalent dollars.
$8.
Yeah, it's
Oh, you're
890.
saying
No, one sat
sat
equals $1.
dollar parity? Okay, sorry. In my
Yeah,
mind, I was
imagine,
thinking
right?
sat cent parity.
Yeah, long-term time horizon, JMART. When you think of when you look at it from that perspective, you're like, dude, fuck, like we're not even going to be able to do that in the coming decades if we're around at that point. You know what I mean? It'll be like you're lucky if you get one sat out of me. You know what I mean? And the key thing here is if you're sophisticated in your thinking, is you have to. That's how you attract customers, right? You'd be like, look, I do that a lot, right? And this is me giving free game. You know what I mean? I heard people are charging $400 for a consultation for this type of stuff. Don't go for it, man. YouTube has it for free. Um, uh, it's literally just like, dude, hey, have you heard about Bitcoin? And people are like, yeah, I have. And it's like, hey, would you ever want to try something like that out? And they just say, oh, it's too much of a headache. It's too complicated. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just circumnavigate out. Let me just go ahead and get rid of all that. And just buy this thing that you buy on the regular anyways. And then once you do, I'll zap over these things to you that take two. So you just download an app on your phone. It takes you literally 1 second. No sign up required, no nothing. And you'll see the power of this network just being zapped over to you. And then they see it and they're like, wow, I hold Bitcoin. I have it now, blah, blah, blah. And then that's it. Their game just with it's almost like a Trojan horse to the normie. And they're normies, right? People that aren't into Bitcoin at this point, they're normies, right? So you have to figure out a way to give them like an underhand throw. It doesn't always have to be a fast pitch.
Yeah, define for people what a normie is.
A normie is somebody who wears a mask in 2024.
I don't want to make that be a normie. That's not a That's a weirdo. That's not a normie. Okay,
Yeah, that's
a normie is just like a regular person who maybe has heard of Bitcoin, but their life is too busy and they've got too many other priorities to even like think about like giving that any like time to like look into it and research it. That's what I think a normie is.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I want to add one more point to it, though. A normie is also somebody who doesn't question the status quo. Seek and ye shall find. For God's sakes, man, don't just be the next fucking person taking orders.
Yeah, question authority. Always look into sources of things. Don't just take what you're told as truth religiously.
Yeah, tell me about it. And if you're looking for those answers, make sure you check out the Bitcoin cypherpunks, because we out here. We'll be doing it all day, every day. We're the harbingers of truth.
Love it. Love it. Tell people about the Bitcoin cypherpunks. That's our little Toronto Bitcoin group where we organize regular meetups.
Yeah.
Everyone's welcome, right?
Of
if
course,
you want to learn about Bitcoin, anything related.
Of course. And you're a huge part of that. You're one of us, JMART. You know what I mean? We couldn't do it without you. There is obviously this gateway we've opened up with this group where it's open to anyone who wants to learn and is curious and maybe is a little been a bit misled, and maybe we can help them see what the real truth is and what hard money actually is, and why all these other things, all these other scam tokens under the sun are just a waste of time. So that's what it's ultimately all about. And realistically speaking, the Bitcoin cypherpunks are just this like underground group of people that live in Toronto, that dwell within the quarters of Toronto, and they're just like more than happy to stay under the radar and stay, but stay, keep their finger on the pulse and stay on the movement. And they don't always tweet out. They don't always comment under everything. They don't care about having a big social media footprint and all this shit. And I'm like, it's so cool to meet this group of like cypherpunks. You know what I mean? Obviously, like I guess you could say we're like, oh, obviously I'm kind of LARPing right now to a certain degree. I use Gmail, you know what I mean? I'm using some like podcast webcam. You can see my face. I'm not like this like super underground shadowy figure like some of these guys that are like true blue cypherpunks are, but some of the people I encountered are pretty up there with that shit, and they're involved in this group, and like they're just like these behind the scenes people, and you know, like it's and we've grown. Like from when I started this, we're now in like the hundreds of people across the GTA, and just in terms of size, you know what I mean? And like we're constantly just getting bigger and getting more and more people involved, and seeing that happen is like, you know, it's just been very humbling and very amazing. I'm just so happy to have the support and have people like you around me and others. They know who they are, and like it's the best, man. It's the best feeling ever.
Cool. Yeah, the cypherpunks are not actually real cypherpunks. It's just a cool name.
Yeah,
we
right.
don't
Exactly.
actually like code very well, but
Yeah.
we are a friendly bunch. We are welcoming to new members. We want to teach everybody about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And
it's a misnomer and a bit of a misconception that you have to be able to code if you're cypherpunk. It just means like the ultimate definition for the most part, even though there might vary from source to source, is that you just don't like centralization. You know, centralization of authority and stuff like that. So
it's just a name. It's fun.
Yeah.
And we're all participating in a silent revolution by saving our money in Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't feel so silent when we're skyrocketing prices like this, though. But yeah. What's
Stop
those
watching
Google
the
searches?
price chart.
I know those Google searches. I forgot. Like as the bull markets rage on, they like the search queries and stuff like that on Google metrics just like skyrocket. That's how you know when you're in it or not.
Yeah. Well, right now Google Trends is saying that Bitcoin is not a highly searched term.
Yeah.
So just imagine the fact that the price is pumping like this right now, while it's not really in the psyche of people, what it's going to be when it's actually a highly searched term. It's going to be crazy. Hey, let's switch gears actually now. You were asking me what did I want to talk about. I did want to talk about a little bit about what's in the news with this Google AI image tool that they released and then quickly shut down. Have you heard about this?
No, not really.
Oh, okay, never mind then. Well, maybe I'll just tell you real quick. But
give me it. It sounds like it's self-explanatory, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so this image tool where you like type what you want the image to be, and the tool generates the image. It's very woke, right? Like as you'd imagine, like Google is a very woke company, and they've created this tool that's very woke to the point where it refuses to generate images of white people. That's how woke it is. So like groups of people that are like very blatantly white, that you don't have to say they're white. You just say like make an image of these people.
Yeah.
It won't do it. It makes them not white. Like Vikings, it'll make them like Native American looking, or black, like anything like the founding fathers of America. It'll make them black. Like anything you think of Europeans, it'll make them black.
sounds like Hollywood all over again, but with AI.
Yeah,
the
so they shut it
Persia.
down. It literally
Jake Gyllenhaal is the Prince of Persia.
Yeah.
So what, they pulled the plug on it because it was too woke for.
It was that bad. It was so bad. They're actually like, we can't like have this out. They made fun of it that badly.
Oh man, so I mean,
what do you think of that company? Do you think it's like done? Like, are people like completely done with Google? You think like is that company going to survive the next 10 years?
If they're smart enough to reinvent the wheel and fix that issue, then they might come back, right? Like I mean, like they'll probably change their name and come under a new moniker or whatever. I think they should be fine. But that is just absolutely hilarious that AI did that. I think it's a sign of the times too. Like if AI surmises that this is okay to like to polish everything, and we're in a bad place.
Yeah, it's wild to think about, right? Like, because these tools are supposed to like almost replace the search engine.
Yeah, I know. And
And
it's like, dude, you're gonna
it's gonna spit out lies at you. It's gonna tell you like all these things that you shouldn't believe, and some people are not going to be smart enough to realize that that's the case.
Yeah, well, I mean, those are probably the same people that think that feds are, you know, and the Federal Reserve is working in their best interest.
Yeah.
So, like I said, make sure that you're always asking questions and do it in a way that is
You're not an
responsible.
asshole.
Yeah, I like don't you know like people always want to get so cynical with their questioning of everything, right? Like do it in a way that is classy and is respectable and makes sense, you know.
Not nihilistic.
Right, yeah,
Did you end up checking out the Putin interview at all?
I did, yeah. I watched it. I like not the whole thing, mind you. I watched the Tucker Carlson and Putin thing, and this is so crazy, like Putin's body language. That's the thing that blew me away the most. It's something that like probably doesn't get talked about. Everyone's more talking about the contents of the interview, but like it's like all the stuff you hear about him in the press and the media and all this shit and then invading Ukraine and all this, and then you just see him sitting there so casual. Like he's just there, and then you ask him a question, he's just like, so like he literally like acts like my neighbor, and I'm like, this guy is like the most like fucking uh, evil dictator, like oppressing and like forcing his power and staying in office way longer than he should be, and all this shit. And
But
then
he
like there he
totally
is.
power moved on Tucker when he was like, "Oh, by the way, I know you applied for the CIA, and good thing they didn't accept you, by the way." Like we know
Oh
that
yeah,
too.
I know. I skimmed through it, so I must have missed that. But that's hilarious. What was Tucker's response?
He just smiled, like I think he looked genuinely surprised that he brought that up, that he knew.
No, fuck. That's
But
that.
I'm sure the most important part that you heard probably had to do with the when he's talking about the U.S. using the U.S. dollar as a weapon
Oh
to sanction countries, and he's like, "You guys, this is a really bad mistake. Like, I don't want to use any strong words, but this is really stupid."
yeah. Although he's got KGB in his eyes, right? So you never know what Putin might say. But here's the thing, right? Yeah, the U.S. dollar is weaponized. I mean, like I think by its very nature, its very core, any fiat is weaponized by decree. It's a
It's money by
means.
words.
Right, it's money by words, and the fact that you could just word it into existence is questionable to say the least. But the fact that it's supposed to be a medium of exchange and it's just always depleting, and giving the
Depleting?
people it's depleting in purchasing power, and you're
Gotcha.
always and the people at the top are the ones that benefit via being the ones that can hit the printing press. It's like it's literally a Ponzi of all Ponzi's, and it's like a concentration of power, and it's just and that weaponizes it because then the people that are unloading it to you and giving it to you and saying, hey, here, take this thing, they're the ones that can now put a boot on your face and tell you when to jump or when not to jump. So it's always this goddamn leverage game, and I hate that. I don't like people having power over us to this degree, right? Governments are meant to serve us. We're not there to serve them. They need to fucking know their place. That's why, on occasion, I will go ahead and put on a little something like this, just to remind them of fucking place, all right? Don't you fucking ever forget it, all right? This is the real deal here right now, okay? You governments, you serve us. We don't serve you.
Rem-
So
remember the 5th of November, the gunpowder treason plot.
exactly. You know the words, and now remember the happening, which I believe is about 2 months away. So you heard it here first. Stop playing games. We ain't taking it no more. Oh, I revealed my identity.
The mask is more for the message than for the hiding of the identity.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Good luck hiding your identity, Mr. Co-founder of Gotoshi.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you think about the halvening, man? Fuck. It's coming.
Right. Yeah, the halvening, or halving as it's sometimes called, that's when the block subsidy on every block of Bitcoin is divided in half. And that's how every new Bitcoin is created, right? Every 10 minutes there's new Bitcoin created. And it's going to stop at 21 million, but it started off with 50 new Bitcoin created every 10 minutes. Then about 4 years later, it dropped down to 25, then divided again into 12 and a half. Now we're at 6.25. And as this epoch is coming to an end, we're going to 3 1/8 as the new block subsidy for every new block that's being created on the Bitcoin blockchain. It's crazy to think it's been nearly 15 years since the start. And there's more already, like, I think more than 95. I think it's like 98% of all Bitcoin has been created. And for the next 100 years or so, the last little, like maybe 2 million is going to be created out of 21 million.
Yeah, it is quite a marvel. The ultimate reason for this protocol and what it does is it makes your asset more scarce. There's less.
Yeah, it's absolute scarcity.
Yeah,
that's the whole point of Bitcoin. That's the whole point of Bitcoin, is its absolute scarcity. And I think what the halvening represents is proof of that. In reality, proof happens every 10 minutes when, as part of the protocol, the correct amount of new Bitcoin is created. But it's still good to have waited till the first halving to know that it was actually going to go in half when the halving happened, right? We just need that confirmatory first halving to know that it's going to go. But now you know that every time this happens, this is what's going to ensure that there's only going to be 21 million Bitcoin and not more. And this is how you ensure that you have scarcity in what you're putting your wealth into, and not the crappy fiat dollars that are constantly expanding in number to the point where it's exponential now. The level of new monetary units created is exponential in how it's increasing, which is wild to think about. Meanwhile, the amount of new Bitcoin created is exponentially getting less and less. Such an amazing contrast to put those side by side and to look at it like that and think about it.